Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are unpacking one of the most recognizable and beloved works of art in the entire Christian world. You've probably seen it before, maybe hanging in a massive cathedral, a quiet hospital chapel, a local school, or even right in someone's living room. We're talking about the iconic image of Our Lady of Perpetual Help. It's a globally recognized Marian icon that has literally captured the hearts and devotion of believers for centuries. But hey, we aren't just here to admire a pretty piece of historical artwork. We are going to decode it, because this image, it isn't just painted, it's written with some seriously profound, deliberate meaning. The whole foundation of this masterpiece actually rests on a single, incredibly powerful biblical quote from the Gospel of John, chapter 19, verse 27. "Behold your mother." These are the very words of Christ from the cross, and they serve as the absolute perfect starting point for our analysis today. You see, this quote connects directly to the immense comfort that generations of Christians have found in this specific image. For hundreds of years, people dealing with suffering, uncertainty, illness, and family struggles have looked at this icon and found real strength. They take those biblical words to heart, seeking Mary's powerful intercession. Which brings us to a fascinating question that's driving our whole explainer today. How exactly does a single painting proclaim the entire gospel? It sounds like a lot, right? Well, unlike your standard painting where an artist might just sketch a landscape based on their mood, an icon is a whole different ballgame. Every single color, gesture, inscription, expression, and object in the sacred icon has been prayerfully and intentionally designed. Literally nothing is there by accident. It is a visual proclamation of Christ's redemption and Mary's loving role in God's plan of salvation, all packed into one single frame. Section 1. A global Marian masterpiece, tracing the icon's history. The pedigree of this icon is just incredibly rich. Its origins actually trace way back to the Eastern Christian tradition, likely created somewhere around the 13th or 14th century. But the real pivotal moments in its modern history happened in 1866. That's when Pope Pius IX formally entrusted the icon to the Congregation of the Most Holy Redeemer. Most folks know them as the Redemptorists. And he didn't just hand it over. He gave them a very specific, now famous instruction: make her known throughout the world. And wow, did they ever. Today, that legacy is alive and well through weekly novena devotions celebrated in thousands of Catholic churches worldwide. Moving right along to Section 2, decoding the hidden symbols, the anatomy of redemption. Hidden in plain sight within this single frame are exactly 10 crucial symbols. Once you know what to look for, I'm telling you, the whole image just opens up. It reveals this incredibly complex narrative of salvation and Mary's role within it. So let's break them down, one by one. First up, let's look at the text. If you check out the background, you're going to spot these Greek letters floating right near the heads of the figures. These abbreviations efficiently and explicitly proclaim exactly who we're looking at. We've got MP through Y, identifying Mary as the Mother of God. ICXE identifies Jesus Christ. And then there's OAM for the Archangel Michael and OAG for the Archangel Gabriel. In the rich tradition of iconography, these inscriptions act almost like divine name tags, so there is absolutely zero doubt about who's in the scene. Next up is the striking gold background. Now, this isn't just some aesthetic choice to make the painting look fancy or expensive. In the world of icons, gold actually represents the uncreated light and glory of heaven. It serves a very specific, profound theological purpose. It frames the entire scene in eternal glory, which reminds the viewer that no matter how much suffering is depicted, Christ's victory over sin and death, it's already an accomplished fact. Now, flanking the center, we find two heavenly figures hovering on either side. Let's compare them for a second. On one side, we have Saint Michael the Archangel, and he's presenting the lance, the sponge, and the vinegar. Then, over on the opposite side, we've got Saint Gabriel the Archangel, presenting the cross and the nails. These aren't just random items. They vividly foreshadow the instruments of Christ's future passion and sacrifice. They're literal visual prophecies of what's to come. What's really fascinating here is this tiny yet incredibly powerful detail on Mary's veil, a single star. This signifies Mary as Stella Maris, or the Star of the Sea. Think about it. In ancient times, sailors navigated the dangerous, unpredictable oceans by looking up at the stars. So here, that star symbolizes Mary's role in guiding believers safely through the turbulent waters of life, leading them directly to her Son. Right at the very center of the composition sits the child Jesus. And it's a brilliant juxtaposition. On one hand, he is explicitly identified as the divine savior who came to redeem the world. But on the other hand, he's depicted right here in a moment of deeply vulnerable humanity, actively seeking comfort from his mother. Which brings us right to that incredible gesture of Jesus clinging to Mary. The narrative captured here is that the child Jesus has just seen the archangels presenting those terrifying instruments of his future passion, the cross, the nails, the lance, and his immediate, visceral reaction is to embrace his mother in fear. This profoundly human gesture is there to remind us that if even the divine Savior sought out Mary in a moment of fear and suffering, well, we can confidently seek her intercession in our own difficult moments too. And man, the emotional weight of that fear is perfectly captured by the falling sandal. If you look really closely at Jesus' foot, you'll see one of his sandals is hanging loose, just dangling by a thread. I mean, we've all seen a panicked child run so fast, they literally run out of their shoes, right? It's such an intimate, relatable detail. It symbolizes that the child ran with such desperate urgency into his mother's arms that his shoe just fell right off. It brilliantly highlights his true humanity. Now follow the gaze downward to Mary's right hand. Notice exactly how she's holding Jesus. Her hand doesn't point to herself. Instead, she gently presents Jesus to the world. This is a core tenet of Marian theology, represented visually. She never draws attention to herself. She always leads us directly to her Son. And that ultimately leads us to the final and maybe the most important detail of the whole piece: Mary's compassionate gaze. Notice where she's looking. She isn't looking at the angels, and she isn't even looking at Jesus. She is looking directly out, straight at us. Her loving gaze is an active, open invitation to every single person to entrust themselves to Christ through her maternal care. Okay, section 3, what the icon teaches. Let's translate these symbols into lessons. We can synthesize our whole breakdown of this artwork into 5 core actionable takeaways. First, as we saw in her hands, Mary always leads us to Jesus. Second, through the angels presenting the instruments, we're reminded that Christ willingly embraced the cross to save us. Third, that falling sandal, it teaches us that we can confidently run to Our Lady in every difficulty just like Jesus did. Fourth, that striking gold background is a constant reminder that heaven is our true homeland and the ultimate victory is already won. And finally, the entire composition teaches that God's love is, without a doubt, stronger than every fear. Finally, section 4. An enduring spiritual legacy, the icon's modern impact. Remember Pope Pius IX's mandate back in 1866? Make her known throughout the world? Well, the success of that mandate is just staggering. Today, weekly devotions to our Mother of Perpetual Help are celebrated in thousands of Catholic churches across every single continent on the globe. This icon continues to remind millions of people that absolutely no burden is too heavy, no sorrow is too great, and no sinner is ever too far gone for God's mercy. So here is the crucial point to take away today. We've seen how the imagery of this icon captures a profound moment of fear, met with an even deeper well of comfort and grace. It shows us that when panic hits, Mary gently points us straight back to Jesus, the true source of hope, peace, and eternal salvation. So as we wrap up our explainer today, I want to leave you with a question to ponder in your own life. When fear overwhelms you, where do you turn?